Okay, so we're looking at critical review. We're looking at this article from Paediatrics. That's the name of the journal. Paediatrics, ped means child. So, like psychiatrist as well. There's a tris, something to do with treatment or medical study of. So, medical study, medical treatment of children, children's medicine. Okay. Let's see who the gods select. Nancy, tell us what you have learned in your 2 minutes of reading and your discussion with Lynn.
I think this is the like adjustment for the teenager, and they get more volunteers of the mothers and report the feedback to this institution, and then they summarize for the behavior of this group, this ages of group people, and to analyze this, how to deal with this difficult period.
Yeah, good.
And,
all right.
Yeah, I saw here is the abstract here.
Yes.
And if you want to get more details, you need to pay. And this is
That's right. Luckily, this one is free.
Yeah.
But often that's the case, isn't it? You get the abstract. Yeah. Tell us what an abstract is. That's a very important thing. Have a look on the first page. What's the abstract, Nancy? You use the term. What is an abstract?
Abstract is like summarize.
A summary.
A summary. As a summary, before the reader reading, they can know some brief introduction for this article.
Exactly, and that's really important to read. And if you're skimming the whole thing, the abstract's pretty important. Usually 100 to 120 words, depends on the journal, and it's meant to be a very efficient summary of the whole thing. So the reader can decide, is this relevant, do I pay, do I read the rest, whatever. Yeah, so pretty important research technique, reading abstract. You've probably come across some already with your last essay, but definitely read your abstract first. It can save you a lot of time, because often it's like, well, that's not relevant, don't read any more, move on. Well, yeah, if we just focus on the abstract then, what else do we know? Lita. Can you add, what we're going to do is build a picture, right? So just add to, Nancy's put the first brick in the wall, and you add another brick. Tell us a little bit more.
Sorry, I can't.
Just anything at all, any one thing extra that Nancy hasn't said yet.
About lesbian mother.
Yeah, good, okay, the mother's a lesbian, okay. Yep. And as Nancy, you mentioned, they're looking at the behaviour, aren't they? They're not measuring any physical thing about kids, they're looking at behaviour.
And I think they try to have a public awareness about the same-sex marriages. Is that right?
That would be one of the implications of the study, that it may have an influence on the debate and the awareness, yes. Min, what else did you figure out?
They did research between 1986 and 1992. 154 lesbian mothers. So they want to they're using methods that it's kind of a little bit widen is age. I mean, widen is over age. They want to figure out something from the ages.
Right, like over time.
Yeah, over time.
Yes, and that's a key idea, isn't it? That this went for. Well, actually, did the study go for that long, or?
No, the mothers.
what happened between 1986 and 1992? Just in the method section there. Is that how long the study went, from 1986 to 1992? No.
Until they reach the other two.
The what, sorry, Min?
Other two, they child to reach the other two like ages. I mean, between 10 to 17. So under 18 years old, so they try to figure out the aging. I mean,
Yeah. Now, it's between 1986 and 1992. What actually happened during this
We
period?
try to examine the children from their teenaging age to the adulthood to adjust their issues between their teenage or their adolescence.
That is true of the whole study, but just during these years, it just says in method, see, on that first page? The method, so it's divided into, let's have a look at it. You've got the objectives of the study, so the aims, the method, the result, the conclusion. Just in brief summary, isn't it? Between 1986 and 1992,
We planned they had interviews, questionnaires.
this is,
it was designed for.
here's a key thing. When is this published?
2010.
Right. So it's published in 2010. This is quite a lot earlier, isn't it? What happened in those 6 years there?
The children grew up. The children.
Well, they would have, but it says 154 prospective lesbian mothers. Prospective means they don't necessarily have kids yet. Prospective in the future, they're going to have kids. Volunteered for a study that was designed to follow planned lesbian families from the index children's, that's the kids of study, conception, the moment they're actually created, until they reach adulthood. So that period is just the gathering period, the volunteering period, over 6 years, quite a long period. Then they start the study. Until, well, we'd have to check. It's published in 2010, but probably up around 2008, 9 sometime, yeah? So it goes really from 1992 through to about 2008 or so, that time. That's when they're actually looking at the kids, yeah. Okay, what so yeah, they gather these kids together, the families together. It's over a long time then, isn't it? It's actually 16, 18 years or so. And that word up the top there is really critical. Longitudinal. Long. A long time. When you do a study over a long time, years, that's called a longitudinal study. Lots of studies are not over a long time, are they? People gather data in a few weeks or months. That's not a longitudinal study. So this is. Okay, so one of the points of looking at this stuff, what we're going to do to some degree is be looking at the language of research. So the various methods used here, you'll probably be familiar with it, a lot of it, if you've done tertiary study before, but we'll get the English terminology for it. And there's our start. This is a longitudinal study. That's its particular method, different from other kinds of study.
After gathering the period, then they found the 78 index children. That's
right. Yeah. Exactly. There were 78 kids, weren't there? Yep.
Between 10 and 17 years old.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. And if we keep looking at that, how did they find out about these kids? And as Nancy, you've said they found out about their behaviour. What was have a look under method. How did, interviews? And questionnaires. Right, checklists. Yeah, that's right. Completed by who? The kids?
Their mothers.
The mothers. Right. So what we're going to do is look at the method, and the idea is not really, you know, I mean, it is related to the gay marriage issue and so on, but we're not really going to be debating that. We're looking at this research, and do you think that these methods and the way this research is conducted lead to the conclusions in a valid way? You know, is it a good method? What criticism might you have? For example, they gathered the information from the mothers. Did they, we'll have to look further in, did they actually get the data direct from the kids?
No.
So, you know, is that okay? Is it not okay? We'll have to read more, but these are the sort of things we're going to be looking at and criticising. And criticising, remember, means not necessarily just saying something's weak, it could mean it's strong as well. So we're going to look very carefully at this whole thing, and we'll probably learn quite a lot about research methodology, or if you already know about it, you'll certainly learn the English terminology for it. Okay? So it's a little bit of different critical thinking from what we did last term. More, that's about, you know, argument. This is more about research and study and the kind of ideas and strategies and language around that. Yeah. What overall are the results, according to the summary?
Results, they are comparing the social and educational aspect, like comparing the girls and boys,
Yeah.
and showing the differences between them.
Are they showing the difference between girls and boys, or?
They're saying like significantly higher in social and academic achievements, I think.
Yes.
That's the one aspect they are thinking.
Yeah, they are higher. Which group is higher? Who are higher?
Students more daughters and sons of lesbian families.
Exactly. So they're looking at 17-year-old kids, and they're both sons and daughters. They're both male and female, aren't they? But it's the group who's been raised by lesbian mothers. They're comparing those kids to background mainstream kids. Yeah, and they're finding they're higher in social academic performance. What are they lower in?
Lower social problems.
Yep. What else? They seem lower in aggression, yes. Rule breaking, they don't break so many rules.
Healthy psychological adjustment.
What's that, honey?
They demonstrate healthy psychological adjustment.
Yeah, that's right. They seem quite adjusted. So, you know, we'll have to see whether this research method, you know, is valid enough to, you know, lead to these results or not. This is part of the process. Conclusion, as you say, they demonstrate healthy psychological adjustment. This has implications for the care of adolescents in same-sex parenting and so on. Yeah. Okay, so that's an overview. Now, what we're going to do, in order to get right into it. Everybody got one? Yeah. There's... Okay, what? There are quite a lot of questions here. 27. But it's broken up into sections. So first of all, just the introduction, and as you can see, methods, the procedures, the actual assessment of the adolescents. Over the page, the analysis of the data, the results that come out of the analysis. The discussion is the discussion in the article about the results. Okay, because you always have this method, results, discussion of the results, conclusion. Okay, so there's several questions in the discussion. Then the conclusion, And then just general, the last section, the actual journal itself, paediatrics as a journal. One thing you need to do as a critical reader is where have you got this information from? What's the reputation of that journal? What's the background of it? Are there funding bodies that are giving money to it who might be distorting its, objectivity, or is there any possible bias, etc.? We have to add this to our thinking. So, several questions. Now, what I suggest we're going to work through these not alone. This is a dangerous journey alone. There are lots of savage animals in the jungle, yeah. So we go together. We'll work through this in groups, in discussion, a little bit per day for the next few days. Yeah? So we'll take it slowly and make sure we all travel together and we're all clear on this stuff. So we'll get all this stuff clear, as it says, getting the facts straight. We'll just understand the article. Then we start looking at, so in other words, we'll kind of do this. We'll get clear on this. The next section, of course, is what do you think of the article? What do you think of the methods? How did they get people to join the experiment? Was the method they used, did that somehow create a biased sample? Remember we've talked about biased samples, for example, etc., etc., etc. So, but we've got to get the foundation clear first. So it's going to be a long, but thorough process. So we're going to walk our way through this, and hopefully as we do so, and you end up with a final written product, the written product will emerge out of a lot of discussion that you have with each other. Okay, so in the discussion process, anybody comes up with an idea, there's no copyright, all right? You can grab each other's ideas. So when we're discussing this, have your note paper out, be taking lots of notes on the sheet, off the sheet, whatever. Gather ideas, and then we'll look at a couple of models of critical reviews and how you lay it out and how you write it. But it will be a pretty carefully supported process. So it's not like the essay, which is much more independent, individual, travelling alone sort of thing. This is a kind of a group activity. You will all produce your own individual final piece, but you'll be getting lots of ideas from each other. So hopefully, if
same topic,
the same article, everyone's going to write on the same article, right? It's going to be intense focus for about 3 weeks on working through this thing. Hopefully, it'll as we do it, it'll be developing your higher reading skills more generally for other articles. You'll get a whole lot of ideas and critical tools that you can transfer to study in the future. About any kind of research, you probably get a whole lot of ideas and language that'll be usable. Now, in the future, at uni, say, or in professional life, but certainly at uni, sometimes they do ask for a critical review, sometimes they don't. But all the skills that we're going to develop in getting ready for a critical review, even if they don't ask for them, you're going to use them. You're going to use them in writing essays generally. I can think of somebody I'm helping at the moment, doing a master's, and they're looking at research, and they haven't had to write a critical review, but they're using all these ideas all the time to write sharper and more kind of critical essays. So all the ideas and the tools that we'll build, I think you'll find generally transferable, either for further study or professional. In your profession, of course, there's no such thing anymore of sitting still as a professional. Your employers expect you to be ongoing professional development, reading in your area, going to conferences, reporting back. Like I went to a conference in Sydney earlier in the year, and I had to report back. But I don't report back just reproducing it. I report back, again, critically analysing, figuring out what is the best stuff to be reporting to teachers. So there's always that critical processing. So again, all the skills and language hopefully will be useful for your professional life as well as any further study. So that's the aim and that's the project. Clear? So, what's the best way to approach this? Maybe, again, I think we just stick with the whole thing for... Let's not worry about those questions now, right? In other words, because those questions mean diving into the detail and kind of answering detailed things. I think it's really important with difficult material, and if you study next year, this is just a typical article. It's about the level of any article in the social sciences that you might come across. So what I want to do with this is sort of practice the strategies of dealing with a difficult article. And what I want to suggest to you is that we stay on the level of the totality of the piece for at least a day or two. So what I'd like you to do is read that thing over the next... we'll discuss it again probably tomorrow. But I still want to discuss it just in this very general way. Don't dive into the exact... Don't get frustrated about, I don't understand that word. Or don't worry about new words. Read the whole thing, guess them. Let's try, I know it's difficult, but try reading that, no phones, no dictionaries, and you just guess what you can. And don't worry about it. I really think it's important that you just leave that anxiety to the side. And be happy with a 20 or a 30% comprehension level, seriously. If you have a 20 to 30% comprehension, but you've got an kind of understanding of the whole thing, that's a really good start. Then, and only then, we start drilling in to the detail. Because the problem is, when you work in other languages, there's a general underconfidence, and you feel, I've got to go like a snail and go carefully and understand every little word. And I've tried to emphasise through the course, getting views of totalities is really, really important. You get an understanding of the nature of something by understanding the broad totality. That can help you with the micro. Kind of the macro, even if it's vague, if it's a 20-30% understanding, can help you enormously with decoding the micro and even guessing new words. And I think that's a really important strategy. Certainly when I'm reading in second language, I try to do that as much as I can. It does help. It's
because
often...
you're smart.
Well, no, it's just... That's a method that's, I guess, for many, many teachers and researchers have demonstrated that works.
So how long will be?
It happens like with me, because in first days when you go, it's hard for you, but slowly when you read, you develop. Even if you don't have dictionary, you start to get the words because you're reading a lot, and
Yes.
all of the ideas that connect to that. Suppose this is the word patriotics, and you don't know the meaning for that, but they describe it in the article in such a way that you get it.
Yeah.
But you won't get it in the beginning because you don't know what is this. But
Yeah.
when you research on it and you read a lot of stuff online on it, even you don't have a dictionary, you get it at the end.
But do you think you will get frustrated when you read? You don't know what's going on.
Yeah, you will get frustrated. But you don't have to know everything. Out of 100%, you might know 20% in the beginning. And as you go, you might get 30, 40, 50.
Yeah, let's okay, here's the broader strategy of how I think you approach. I think it's a good example, even if we take that word. Think of reading not as like a straight line and you read from beginning to end. It's really kind of circular. So we've already done your first read. You've travelled around very fast, 2 minutes. Okay, now maybe you've got the word paediatrics. You didn't know that. Now, okay, I happen to tell you what it meant, but it's a good example. Imagine you first read around, you've looked at it really quickly, you still don't know what it means, sure. Okay, next time you go a bit slower, you come around again, and probably that word is there, maybe 3 times in the piece. All right. By the time you come around here, you're starting to get an idea, aren't you, what it might mean. Something to do with kids, probably. Okay, now you read it again. Maybe you realise it's also there. You re-experience those and, oh, you missed that one. You come around, probably by then, you probably know what that means. Right? And that's just one example. You have many, many words and ideas. As you come around, what basically, you'll need to read and reread this piece. And as you say, Mohammed, you go from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, and you slowly rise in your
can I ask a
understanding.
question? It's for my personal development.
Yeah,
You said you read it again and again.
yeah.
What is the procedure for reading? Like, is it skimming, or is it?
The first time is a skim. Travelling, remember that? I think we did in the computer room, right? That list of all the things you look for, like you did just then. You look at titles, you look at diagrams, maybe topic sentences, read the introduction, the conclusion, the abstract, just those, that's the skim.
Yeah. So how do you start? Like, you skim it for the first 2 times, or?
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, and then you go to.
And then you decide what gear you want to travel in. Like,
Or
if I were doing that,
I've noticed sometimes you select, like, suppose I'm gonna focus on that area, and you read that area, and then you go, okay, I'm gonna focus. You select certain areas and you
sometimes well, one thing I would decide after skimming this, I thought, okay, there's the abstract.
Yeah.
So the abstract, now I'm going to go slow through the abstract
Yeah.
because it's the abstract. It's got a lot of juice in it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty important.
Yeah.
So for that, remember that metaphor of driving. So you go down into first gear.
Yeah.
Because you've been up in 5th and 6th driving really fast twice around. Now you find the hot bit, the abstract, right? Now you go slow. Drive in first. Okay, I've got that idea. All right, I'm still not. Yeah, then I would go carefully through it, probably driving in about 2nd gear through the whole thing, and then there'll be a patch there that you're not really sure of, and there'll be a patch there. Now you might decide, well, I'll leave them for now, and look, I'll just reread and get stronger in the strong bits, and you get really strong in the strong bits, and then you go and attack those bits. Because by getting stronger in the bits you do understand, that's going to help you figure out the weaker bits. I mean, there's all sorts of, you can't tell what you're going to do. It depends on the nature of the article, doesn't it? But that's overall the strategy of that repeated driving, that reading as driving. You can't do that with every piece. We've got a piece here, we're studying for the next 3 weeks. That's how you approach it. And really, if you're reading for your essay, you'd do this, wouldn't you, with many pieces? You'd skim them.
Yeah.
And you'd skim 20 or 30, and then you pick 8 to really drill into, and they're the ones you're going to use for your essay. Or parts of other ones that are useful for your essay, and you use those bits. But it's through the skimming process you realise, oh, that bit there is useful and the rest is not. So skimming through your whole landscape of research is incredibly important, to skim through the whole lot first and then go slower. This piece, it's a concentrated process because we've already been given it and we know we have to really focus. Yeah. So let's, over the next couple of days, do a slower read now, but not too slow, not snail, more like rabbit speed, all right? Walking rabbit, not chased by dog, rabbit. Okay, so you can walk your way through, but don't stop if you get onto a difficult word. Just keep going. And, as I say, 20-30% comprehension, that's fine. Bring it tomorrow and we'll discuss that level. And then the next day, round we go again. Then we'll start digging into the specific bits.
Our job would be researching this topic?
No, not at all. You don't have to read anything else. A critical review usually is, our focus is this text and nothing outside it. You don't need to start looking at issues of, other studies that show the same thing or the opposite thing. You don't need to do it.
No new referencing.
No. We are, usually with a critical review, you'll just have one reference in the whole thing, and it's the article that we're examining.
Just this written article, not on the internet finding it, just this one.
Just that.
You need to pick it.
Yeah, that is freely available on the internet. If you put that title in and the authors, you can get your own version if you want it. It's not,
Still, we can
you don't pay for it.
this.
But we're just focused, we're really drilling inside this thing